back here on Liquid Lunch, and we are, I was going to say blessed, John Klotz. Is that going too far?
Oh, that's the nicest thing I've heard all day. Wow, blessed. Okay.
It's great to see you. Great to have you on the show, and we're talking about our RSP season, and it's the retirement. We were just talking before we came on the air about, the struggles that a lot of younger people are going through, just getting their money thing together, but and the problems that they're having when they want to be successful in the financial industry, but
absolutely, it's all go on.
Well, you're here to help everybody deal with those problems, whether they're on the buying side or the selling side or wherever they are, and it's RSP season. So, where should we start, John?
Absolutely. Well, firstly, thank you for having me. And I've watched your show evolve and the whole ThatChannel thing. So, congratulations on this this great thing that you've undertaken. But I think it's a timely thing for me to come down here. It is February. All the banks and everyone are talking about RSPs and retirement planning, and it's sort of a funny topic because there's a bit of a problem out there in terms of being able to get your act together, calling it the retirement crunch. But before I get into that, when you do retirement planning,
he brought the props.
Typically, a lot of our clients talk about travel. So I know you're going to go someplace hot if you're retiring. You don't have to wear them, but I brought you each a hat, sun hat.
Thank you,
John. It's oh, there he goes, going somewhere for retiring.
Like, what's your name? Okay, John. Thank you.
You don't have to wear it.
I'm waiting.
I like your hat better.
Thank
but
you,
anyway, no. But because when we talk about it's sort of a people think a lot about retirement planning, and there are some issues with it that people are facing, and one of them is are you going to have enough to retire? And so we look at Canadians, right? You're talking to me about all these 20s and 30 somethings. If you look at, say, like someone who's 35, believe it or not, they don't have that long a time to plan for retirement. It's maybe 360 months. It's a conceivable period of time. And, if you're earning a living and you've got things like a home and a mortgage and kids, it's kind of easy to spend all your money and not have anything left over to do any serious planning for. So it is a problem. Not only that, the boomers have blown it.
What do you mean?
Well, the boomers are living beyond their means.
Oh, I see.
And there's all sorts of debt. There was just a story this morning about Canadian debt. That we're living in all sorts of debt. So there's definitely some issues. So, a lot of people look to me and say, so where are we and what are some of the options? And when you think about it, there's really only 3 sources for retirement planning. And one of them is the government. Right. Right?
So we just let them take care of it.
Well, I'll talk about letting them take care of it because it's interesting. And secondly, there's company pension plans and the employer taking care of that. And I know there's just a fabulous pension plan here at ThatChannel for the employees.
I can't wait to retire, John, and just live it up.
I mean, look at Randy over there in the millionaire suit and all that stuff. And I'll discuss that because most private companies do not have a pension plan. And the third thing is what you can do to plan for retirement. That's kind of where we're going to spend some time. But let's address some of those 3 issues. Let's talk about what the government's got for you. So if you did decide to retire today between old age security and Canada pension plan, your income would be about $19,000 a year. Now maybe that might seem fabulous. I know you're giving it some thought.
Actually, a lot of young people in this country probably think that is a fabulous retirement plan.
Okay.
Imagine that. Retire now, $19,000 a year.
Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah.
But now remember, so what's poverty though? Poverty is about 19,000. So you're poor.
Yeah, but that's just a name.
I know.
It's
not a state of mind.
It's
state
just
of mind. No, but bang on. No, so that's an issue. So the government it's got some now. Is it going to improve for us? The government.
Well, they're talking. I mean, Harper kind of pissed off the Grey Panthers, like last week when he was talking about it messing with the retirement plan, right?
Right. Don't mess with the retirement plan.
Well, we'll see, but what our future government's going to do, we don't know. It's out of our control, right? So there's a risk there.
There's a risk.
There's a risk in all of it, though.
Exactly. So you bring up some good points. So then we talk about, like, okay, so the government, what about companies with pensions? Now, the thing is, I've been working as a financial advisor for about 20 years. And I can, if you work for the government, if you're a teacher or something like that, you probably have some sort of pension plan. But for most private industries, private companies, there is no pension plan. And that's a big part of Canadians. And, I can count on my hands the number of clients who I deal with who are working for a private company who has some sort of a pension plan. It's not a lot.
It's not what it used to be. It used to be when there were large companies that had, big, successfully unionized companies. There was a lot of money to go around.
Yeah.
And plus, I read some stat the other day that when they set those up, the guys that were retiring at 65, when they first set 65 as a retirement age, well, the average lifespan of those guys was like 67, 68, and that's totally changed now.
Exactly. Do you know that was set by Napoleon, age 65? That's why we have this number, because back in his day, that's how long people would kind of live. Now, here's the other problem.
Yeah.
You have a very good chance of making it to 90. Right? So I think you were mentioning some group that was hiring people over the age of 45. That's a drop in the bucket.
Right.
People are living to 90, and potentially you're going to run out of money. In fact, did you ever see those Walmart commercials? The definition of retirement, there's a lady in her 80s holding a Walmart bag.
Yeah.
At, the greeter.
Yeah.
Some pretty scary stuff. So these are issues. And then there's really what you can do to establish yourself financially and really take care of yourself.
It's almost like no matter what you do, you've got to be responsible yourself for doing it, right? So that regardless of what else might be available, it seems sensible for anybody to kind of take the bull by the horns and plan for their own future, whatever that may be, right?
Well, this is it. So what do you do? I thought today what I talk about is some of the things you can do to improve this situation. I talked about RSP rules. It is RSP season. And then I'd give you some tips as to how you can improve your financial situation. And if we have a few minutes, I'll give you Klotz's comments on where the market's going.
Klotz's comments.
Nice.
Do we spell comments with a K?
I don't know. I just thought I'd throw it in. We could. We could. We can do whatever you want. It's your show. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about RSPs. You own RSPs, right, Hugh? Is that a dangerous question to ask you in front of all your listeners?
I'm not sure. I have owned RSPs.
How about you, Aaron?
I used to.
And then
Yeah, I used to be in the industry for a long time.
In what?
In the financial industry for a long time.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Yeah. Okay, all right. And you've made the move to that channel as a
because of the retirement package.
Because of the retirement package. It's
That's
pretty.
Right. It was the healthier selection, I have to say, but
it was the comprehensive dental plan that lured her. No, okay. So I hear you. So this year it is, it is our RSP season. As you know, you have till February 29th to do any sort of contribution. So everyone's got about 2 weeks left. The government has set the contribution level for 2011. So what you do is in 2011, you contribute. In 2012, you contribute for 2011. So this year, the contribution amount is $22,450, or 18% of your income, whichever comes first.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, Hugh, you may not be aware of this, but you can over-contribute by $2,000 to your RSP.
You're allowed to do
You're allowed to do
Why?
that. Well, you're allowed to do it because some people make a mistake, they over-contribute.
Oh, I see. So they're just giving you a little leeway there.
Giving you a little leeway, but you can't deduct it. You can't deduct that $2,000 from your income. It just accumulates tax-free.
That sounds like a good thing for the accountants to worry about.
Absolutely. So, it's a funny point because if you do over-contribute beyond that, there's some penalties, and you don't want to do that. So you should be telling your accountant.
So it's 18% or $22,450, whichever comes first.
Whichever comes first.
So the lesser amount.
The lesser of the two.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about foreign content, and I'm going to talk about that. There used to be all sorts of limits on the amount of foreign content that you can contribute to these things.
And what does that mean?
Well, for instance, what they did was when they set up the RSPs in the 1950s, they said it all had to be Canadian. You had to invest in Canadian companies, whatever. And then people started watching the international markets outperform the Canadian markets and saying, we would like to participate in that. And so they opened it up and said you could now have 30% foreign content, like investing in Microsoft or Dell or something like that. And then a few years ago, they got rid of it completely, and you can put up to 100%
elsewhere.
Completely
so you can
outside
put it all
of
in Chindia.
Chindia.
Right?
Chindia. Tell everyone what that means.
China, India, the fastest
Excellent.
growing
The BRIC countries.
economies. Yeah, Brazil.
Exactly. And in fact, a lot of people are looking at those. 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 A lot of people are.
Okay.
So, what are the rules about RSPs? You have until 71 to contribute to them.
To the age of 71.
Yeah. At that point, you have to start divesting them, which means you have to start taking out some sort of an income from them. And it starts at about 7%. So if you had $1 million in an RSP that year, you would withdraw $70,000, and your income would actually be $70,000.
That's not bad.
It's not a bad way to go.
Let's do that.
You like that plan?
I like
He'll pick
that
that
plan
one.
a
You just
lot.
let's go. Let's just give you the $1 million bucks.
He's
Drop you in at 71 and call it a day. Bypass all this business building stuff and
Right.
cute stuff you're doing.
Yeah?
So what about the people who are struggling? Because we're talking about making it easier for people. Obviously, there's a benefit to having an RSP and having the right financial advisor who
Yep.
can guide you. But like you said, we have mortgages, families,
Exactly.
money's flying out the window. How do you make it simpler, and how do you maybe put as little as you can but get the most out of it? Is there that option?
Absolutely. You know, it's I have some points as to how you can improve your situation, but there's something psychological for a human being to start putting whatever it is, whether it's $50 a month, towards your future. A lot of people are just living in the moment.
Right.
You know, they're paying the rent, they're paying their mortgage, they're just there, and there's no future, and it's kind of, imagine that's fairly, demoralizing for them to kind of go through. So one of the things you can do is you should start something, even if it's tiny. Start some
Just start
sort
something,
of
start anything.
Start anything. You know, I talk about, and I'm not sure, Aaron, if this addresses your point, but I talk about some 10 things you can do to improve your situation, and one of them is start early. So the example we have is of a 25-year-old, a 35-year-old, a 45-year-old, and a 55-year-old. So they each start contributing $200 a month. So the 25-year-old, and I forget what the rate of return was, about 8%. The 25-year-old contributes $200 a month, and by the age of 65, he or she is worth about $1.2 million, right? The 35-year-old starts with $200 a month, and at the age of 65, he or she is worth $400,000.
Right.
Big difference. So this 10-year gap where there was about, $2,400 times 10 years, $24,000 has cost that person $600,000 or $800,000. I mean, it's unbelievable. So one of the things we say to young people, start early. Like, just get something going. Does that sort of,
Sure.
just get off, go see your financial advisors, go to the bank, whatever, start something. Because if you have time on your side, even if you're a horrible investor, you can make up for it just by starting early.
Yeah. And I think it really is a good point is just to get a financial advisor.
I agree.
Right? Because if you don't, then you don't have somebody to kind of just hold you accountable to yourself.
I agree.
Right?
I agree.
And that and kind of like those Nova or Scotia Bank ads, you're richer than you think. Well, with the help of a financial advisor, you can actually put a plan in place.
I agree with that. And it's amazing how few Canadians actually have a financial plan. And people say, I'll get a plan together when I'm ready.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean?
Don't wait.
Don't
Why?
wait.
You're never going to be ready unless
You're never going to be ready.
Get
Give me a 25-year-old, give me $200 a month, I make you a millionaire by the time you're 65. Period. Now, the other interesting thing is when I sort of show these little graphs as, 25, 35, 45, and 55, the 55-year-olds look at me, if there's any, I do these seminars all the time, they look at me and they're kind of a little pissed off. They're going, well, is there nothing for me? It's not that there's nothing, it's just you got to start now. And there's, maybe you have to be a little bit more aggressive. I don't know, but the best thing you can do is start early. The other thing you can do is, and you know, there's a lot of market volatility out there. I mean, it's just been nuts. Ever since I've been, like I said, I've been doing this for 20 years. Every time there's been a market correction, I've learned a little bit about myself and about my clients. And I'll tell you what I've learned about my clients. When someone says they're an aggressive investor, that means they're great when it's up 40%. Oh, yeah. They're very nice. When it's down 40%, they're not very nice.
They're risk averse.
So yes, people do not understand that things go up and down, and that it's not all about up. And there's, 2008, the Toronto Stock Exchange went down 42%. You know, if you had $1 million, you suddenly had 580,000. If you had 100,000, you suddenly had 58,000. Right. And that's your hard-earned dough, and that's when the angry phone calls come in. So you have to appreciate that there's volatility out there. So what we encourage a lot of our clients to do is we can't time the market. There's going to be all sorts of ups and downs. You should try some sort of monthly contribution plan, because then you have the opportunity, if the market goes up, you participate in that. If it goes down, you can actually buy more units of whatever you're purchasing. And so then ultimately does rise, you're ahead. So these are sort of useful techniques that we encourage people to do.
That's great.
So is there anything in particular that people need to be mindful of this year? Or is there an action plan you would suggest for people who are watching this right now?
Yeah, and let's talk about it. So I'm going to sort of come back to some tips, but if you want to talk about what's happened. So last year, the Toronto Stock Exchange went down about 12%, and pretty daunting. So actually, I'm the guy who takes the phone calls. My clients go, "Get me out of this." Well, your portfolio, Mr. Client, went down 4%. You beat the market. So a lot of people are I think a lot of people are discouraged right now. They're they saw 2008, the market meltdown. There was a bull run for about 2 years. Now the markets went down this year, but this month, it's been the best January since 2000. Like, it's actually been a really full recovery. So there's some interesting things there. As to sort of where I see things going, that's the crystal ball, right? Like what you look out for. So North American stocks, right? I mean, or North American investments are going to kind of grow at about 1%, probably. The GDP is going to kind of grow at 1%. But I think there's a couple of things really creating some issues out there. The whole European debt crisis thing is pretty scary. I'm sure you've been reading about that.
Yeah.
And there's thoughts out there that Europe is going to, this whole thing could send it into a recession. I mean, that's pretty scary. There's some other international events, the events in Iran. I mean, it's scary, right? I mean, there's a little strait there called the Straits of Hormuz.
Oh, come on! What's the worst could happen there?
Let's go ahead.
Nothing.
You think so? Is that? I have no idea. You've got the crystal ball, not me.
Part of it is the psychology and how people react too, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, like they say, if they block off the straits, the price of oil will jump to $500, which will be great for Canadian commodities. But
we'll be using the water-powered car by then, John.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. Actually, we're on the highway. We're driving up north, and that Chevy Volt passed us. And I tried to catch it, but I had my kids in the back, and it was just. That's the purely electric.
Really?
It's fabulous.
Wow.
Very impressive.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very cool.
So I'll tell you what did well last year is investments that had dividends in it, and some corporate bond stuff. So there's an investment that I put my clients into called the Strategic Income Fund, and it's made up of like blue chip fund companies that create dividends. And also some corporate bonds. So corporate bonds are different. The government bonds, corporate companies say, we're going to set up our company and we want you to loan us money. And instead of paying you what the government pays on a GI or a government bond of 1 or 2%, I think the Treasury bill this morning was 1.95%. I mean, it's just dismal, right? We're going to pay you 7 or 8%. So people buy those, and they're big companies, Microsoft, Bell, that sort of stuff. And so those funds actually last year returned about 4.5%. So that's a 15 or 16% improvement over the market, and
Right.
yet they're fairly solid.
Yeah.
You know, there's no guarantees up there, you know, unless you buy a GIC, a guaranteed investment certificate. But imagine being invested in some blue chip companies, and when the market went down 12%, you actually did 4.5%. That's not bad.
Plus, you might even get some dividends.
Plus, you might get some dividends and some growth. So, there's still a recovery going on out there. So I kind of like that stuff. The other thing that is interesting that I'm enjoying is, and I've talked to a number of portfolio managers. So the U.S., all the news about the U.S. is negative, right? It's all dismal. Would you agree?
I thought Obama was doing a great job.
Okay,
No.
and that's great. What you're hearing about the debt, right?
We're hearing, and we know what happened with the housing bubble, right?
Right.
Yeah, we know, and that sucked a lot of money
Yeah.
out of the economy,
Right.
which is bad for business.
Right.
Yeah.
So they've got this big, huge debt, to 11 trillion, whatever. They had to raise their debt ceiling, all that sort of stuff. They're in a recession. Their housing's a mess, and people in Canada are buying condos in Fort Lauderdale for,
Now there's a retirement plan.
There's a retirement plan.
Okay.
I like it. When are we going?
Well, I'm just waiting to find out if the floor of the Gulf of Mexico is going to blow open completely
right.
from that oil disaster and make the place completely uninhabitable.
Exactly. So anyway, but so the news is negative. However, the U.S. balance sheets on a lot of the corporations are actually pretty good. So there's a couple of investments that I like that invest in these companies that you've all heard of that are holding a whack load of cash. And so I think, and again, I may be wrong, but that's not a bad hedge. That's not a bad hedge to say, that there might be some opportunity for just the stocks to gradually recover to the price they should be selling at.
Plus, I think, we shouldn't count America out at all. Don't
Not at
forget,
all.
this is America we're talking
I agree.
about.
I agree.
And they're going to get it together, and they're going to show everybody.
I agree.
There
I
you
agree
go.
100%. The interesting thing, by the way, just to talk, is sort of Canada's been the place to invest for the past 10 or 15 years. It really has been. I mean, our banking sector is great, and we got lots of rocks, and and actually in my points, I talk about some of the tips. One of them is to diversify outside of Canada, because yes, we have been the safe place, and it'll probably continue to be a relatively safe place, but you can't miss out on international opportunities, right?
Well, there's something to be said for a diversified portfolio no matter what. Right, John?
Diversified portfolio. I like your energy, young man.
Okay.
I like it.
John, so, what's the first step? People give you a call?
Yeah, I think what they can do is everyone's different. Everyone has different goals. Everyone has different needs and requirements and amounts. Ideally, what they should do is meet with a financial advisor, sit down, go over who you are, what your risk level is, what your goals are, and then meet with an advisor. We at Northwood Mortgage Life, that's what we do. We meet with people, we help them put together a plan that suits them, and then start something that might make sense.
Okay, and what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Best way is you can go to our website, northwoodmortgagelife.com. You can call us at the office, 416-969-8130. Ask for myself, extension 230, and those are two excellent ways to reach us.
Just make that step and get it going.
Make
right?
the step. Yeah.
Okay, John. Thanks
Okay.
a lot. Great.
Thank you so much for having me out on your show,
Thank you for the hats.
looking forward to seeing the rest of your guests, especially that 45-year-old plus HR firm.
Yeah, she'll be here any minute. Okay, John. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Come back. Paul Perrier is here, and we're all going to smile for the camera as Liquid Lunch continues on a Wednesday. We'll be right back.
I met her in a seaside cafe, in a coastal town, quaint and tucked out of the way. I plunked my hard-earned money down. She snatched it up and stuffed it in her prissy gown.